Okay, so again, let's see if I can get a pen here. Maybe. There we go. Okay. So graphing. Let's pick up kind of here a little bit where we left off. So you've graphed before, but there's some different ways, tools you have available. So first of all, you know this is always your y-intercept or your starting amount. So if I go up to 5 and I put a dot right here, that is my starting amount. Now remember, your slope is not a point, but it's a point maker. So you have rise, and I'm using the mouse, so hoping to make it easier for me to graph. Rise over run. So if I start at my first point, because that's my starting amount, I could rise 3. So if I rise a positive 3, though, that means my 4 must be the negative one. So if I rise 3, 1, 2, 3, and run backwards 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then I have my other point. And I could just go ahead and draw my line to the best of my ability. Okay. And again, does it have negative slope? Yeah, looks like it. And then does it start at 5? Yes. So that is one way to graph if you understand y equals mx plus b form. So if you understand that this is your y-intercept and that's your slope, then you should be good. If you hate graphing that way, another way is to always make your input-output chart because you kind of have some control here, in and out here. So now you could pick any number you want, but 0 is always a good choice. So when you sub in 0, you get 5. So that's your y-intercept, which is where it was before, which is good. Now you could pick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You could pick 2/3 for your input here. But if you notice that you have a fraction there, and so if you just pick random numbers, you are going to maybe not get the best output. But notice if x is a multiple of 4, like 4, 8, 12, 16, or maybe a negative 4, negative 8, and so forth, multiples of 4, that 4 is going to be divisible in there, and so you are not going to get any decimals or fractions. You're going to get nice integers for answers. So for example, if I sub 4 in here, you could just type that in your calculator. Excuse me. So if I sub 4 in there, I'm going to get a positive 2. If I sub 8 in there, I'm going to get, let's see, if I sub 8, then 4 would go into my 8 twice. I get what? Negative 6 plus 5 is a negative 1. All right. And so then I could go that route. So I have 0, 5 here, 4, 2, so go over 4, up 2, and then 8, negative 1. So here I'm just plotting input and output, and I still am going to get the exact same line. Still going to have the same slope. And I could check my answer. Does it start at 5? Yes. Is the slope 3, negative 4? So I could go down 3, which is my negative 3, and go to the right 4. And I could be like, oh, so you can kind of use a combo to check to see if you're doing it right. All right, let's go ahead. Why don't you try, let's go to the top of the next page, number 5. See if you can set those up, and then we'll try graphing again with number 6. Okay, so again, we have the nice little video thing here, which means if you go to my math lab and look at multimedia, there's a professional video here if you want to watch that instead. All right, so let's look at these. Again, you know how linear equations work. There's some type of starting amount that's over here, and then you have some type of multiplier times x, and then this could be plus or minus depending on how the problem's set up. All right, so let's look at this problem. Let me erase that, and somehow that shifted a little bit. Oops, I don't want to shift that. I want to shift that. There we go. All right, so let's look at this. I have y equals, and you could use C for cost. My iPod is my one-time expense. Okay, I don't have to keep buying it over and over and over again. I buy it once. And then every download is your ongoing rate. It's per song. So I could use S for song, or I could use cost equals $1.29 per download plus the 200. But notice your one-time fee is your y-intercept, and your ongoing rate is your slope. And so I can write a linear equation because, again, it's not exponential growth. If I buy, it just starts, my price starts at 200, and then it just keeps going up constantly $1.29 after that. All right, let's look at the next one here. Let's see if I can scroll down just a little bit. Okay, so this one, let's see, what do we have here? Okay, they have a base salary of $500, and then this is per sale. So you can tell that this is the rate, and this is a one-time starting fee, and we want to know their salary. So I could use S, or again, I could use Y equals MX plus B. $500 is their one-time deal, and then they get $50 for every cell. I could use X. Okay, and if you want to use Y here instead, Y equals MX plus B, that's fine. But notice, this is your starting amount, one-time deal. This is your ongoing rate. And then the nice thing about this is then if you are this person, you can be like, okay, well, I just sold 100 of these items. So then you know your input is 100. So then you'd sub in 100. All right, and then obviously this person is going to make, what, $5,000 off of the commission and then that base salary. So that would be a very good month of income for them. All right, or I guess it's per week, so I don't know that anyone would make that per week, but maybe. All right, so again, you have your starting amount, which is your y-intercept, and then you have your ongoing rate. We have done this before when we did linear growth and when we did arithmetic sequences. All right, pause there and try to graph number 6, and then we'll do that one together. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at number 6. All right, and actually maybe I'll try a mouse on this one just for graphing. I think it worked better the last time, so let's see. All right, so let's try graphing it using slope-intercept form. So again, my starting amount, and it's always the y-intercept, so there's 4. And then my slope is 2. And again, put a 1 under there if you want to make it into a ratio. So you can see the rise over the run. So I'm going to rise 2, run 1. And I could go up 2 and do 1 in my mind. Or the other thing is I can make them both negative. Because remember, a negative divided by negative is still a positive. So if I go down and to the right and down and to the right, that's still going to do the same thing. And so then I could draw my line. Okay, so that's one way of graphing a line. The other way is to go ahead and make an input-output chart. So I can make my input-output chart just like we've done in the past. And again, remember, you have control over the input. The formula is going to give you the output. And I'm going to just erase a few things here. So, why won't it let me do that? Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to erase this, and actually, I'm going to go ahead and erase that as well. Okay, and I'm going to change colors here. So we'll do blue. All right, so now notice there's no fractions in here, so I don't have to look for multiples of a common denominator. I'm going to pick just any numbers that I think are nice to sub in. So 0, 1, 2, maybe 3. And you could do a -3 if you want, doesn't matter. I'm going to sub in 0, which is 4, which makes sense, right? That's my starting amount. Sub in 1. So I get, what, 6, and sub in 2, right? That's a positive, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so 2 times 2 is 4. I get 8. And that's probably enough. All right, so I'm going to come over here and graph, and it looks like that just didn't quite erase. Okay, there we go. All right, and I'm going to, again, scroll up. Okay, so 0, 4 is my starting. That's that one. Go over 1, up 6. That's that point. Go over 2, up, that was that one. 2, 8 would be about right there. Now, if I want to sub in, say, a -1, just to have a point over here, sub in a -1, you can do it on your calculator. 2 times a -1 plus 4. -2 plus 4 is 2. So -1, 2 is here. And I can plot my points and then draw my line that way. I should get the same line either way, and I can always check my answer then by looking at, okay, is 4 really my starting amount? Yep. Is my slope positive? Yes. And does it go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1? Yeah. So I know I'm right. Okay. So however you want to graph, that's up to you. The questions on page 348. Let's see, pick it, confirm that the ordered pair is a solution, do another one. The coordinates of the points on the line are the same as the equation. E, determine if the point, all right, so then on E, no, yeah, E, it says, is -100 with the output of what, negative 196. Is that going to be on this line? Now, obviously, we're not going to make our graph really big to see, but notice we know input, and we can check to see if it gives us the right output. So if I sub negative 100 into my formula, so I have 2 times a negative 100, and then what, plus 4? So negative 200 plus 4. Does that give me the proper output? And it does. The output's negative 196. So I know for sure that if I were to graph a giant graph, that this point would be on my line. All right, let's see. How much time do we have? All right, I'm going to have you just graph one. And again, try graphing it either way that you like, making a chart or doing point slope, or maybe doing a combination of the two. So say I give you y equals negative 1/3 x plus 3. Okay, so go ahead, sub in and graph it and see how you do. And I'll just erase these points here so you can try, I'll just graph it on the same one again. So try graphing it any. All right, so let's look at how to graph this. Again, if you understand what's going on here, this is your starting amount. So I'm going to just use the same graph I had before, graph paper. There's 3. And it's always your y-intercept. Now, this is my slope. Now notice it's negative. So one direction's negative. So if I rise 1, because remember it's rise over run. So if I rise 1, I would have to go backwards 3. 1, 2, 3. If I go down 1, which is a negative rise, then I'd have to go positive 3. Only one direction can be negative. And again, see how that line does have a negative slope, like a negative correlation when we talked about that. The other thing I can do to either graph or check my answer or whatever is to make an input-output chart. Since I have a fraction with a denominator of 3, I'm going to purposely pick multiples of 3 just to make sure I don't get ugly fractional answers to graph. So sub in 0, I get 3. Sub in 3, so you get negative 1/3 times 3 plus 3. So let's see, that goes in there once. So again, negative 1 plus 3 is 2. Again, you can use your calculator. Negative 1/3 times 6 plus 3. 3 goes into 6, what, twice? So I get a negative 2 plus 3 is 1, but again, you can use your calculator. So I'm going to plot these points. 0, 3, still there. 3, 2, still there. And 6, 1, looks like I was off a little bit before. So, all right, but notice I should get the same line, and graphing with a mouse is not ideal. So whichever makes sense to you for graphing, that would be great. Also remember that if you're not given it in the nice form, so like if someone gives you the equation where it's in standard form, which is awesome for typesetting and for printing, but it's terrible for trying to figure out some math, put it in the other form. So if someone gives you like 2x minus 5y equals 10, that is wonderful for typing. It is terrible for trying to graph. So go ahead and solve it. There's one subtraction, so you know you're going to add ones. Let's see, what am I going to add? Either a negative 2x, or if you don't want to add a negative 2x, you could view it as subtracting 2x, whichever one makes more sense to your brain. So to get rid of a positive 2x, you need a negative 2x. So that negative is still there, though, with the y. And again, remember, these are not like terms. Cats and cats make more cats, but cats and dogs, you can't create anything new. So you have variables and constants, those don't add together. Now notice all we have is multiplying left, so we're going to divide by negative 5, and everything gets divided by negative 5. So I get 1y equals, and a negative divided by negative, this will be a positive 2/5 x. And a positive and negative, this is going to be what? Negative 2. Okay. So then I could either graph this or make an input-output chart to make it easier to graph. So this is called slope-intercept form because you can see the slope right there and you can see the y-intercept right there, including the negative. All right, that's the end of this one, and we'll keep plugging along. Keep working hard.